Rob has over 2 decades of industry experience in his role as product director for KnowBe4. Rob is leading the charge to increase businesses' awareness of cybersecurity. His extensive knowledge in the field and passion for ensuring that businesses are prepared to defend against evolving cyber threats is an inspiration to many. Rob finds harmony outside of the office by playing in a local rock band, demonstrating a love of creativity and collaboration that extends from cybersecurity to the world of music. Over to you, Rob. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Before I go on to the first slide, is there anybody called Dave in the room? Just raise your hand. No? Okay, good. I'm going to get away with this. The reason being that basically everybody's got a Dave. Everybody's got somebody in their business that's happily sitting there doing their job, but maybe hasn't been trained on how to spot cybersecurity attacks. The problem with that is that attackers know that it's far easier to get in through a user. It's far easier to get somebody to click on a link or open an attachment or do something like that than it is to get in through the infrastructure that companies have. And the great thing is, over the last 20 years, people have spent a lot of money on protecting the infrastructure. But the problem is that over those years, not much has been spent on protecting the people. And as we've heard countless times already today, people are the weakest link. We're all just trying to do our job. We're all trying to get through our day. And that's why we click on the link, we go to a page, we try to log into Microsoft 365, and that's how attackers get our credentials. So the key thing with KnowBe4 and with cybersecurity is adding a human layer of security or building that human firewall that you have. And the reason why you do that is because 91% of cybersecurity attacks start with a phishing email. You will have also seen different stats around these things, so apologies if they don't all match up, but we all get our data from different sources. So yeah, 91% of cybersecurity attacks start with a phishing email, and that's why training staff is so important. This is a slide that I think just highlights the fact that Vanessa just mentioned as well, is that there's millions of cybersecurity attacks all the time, all day long. There's attackers that are trying to get into what we're doing and trying to get our data. And the reality for organizations like yours and like ours is it only takes an attacker or they only have to get lucky once. But as organizations and protecting our data, we need to be perfect or effective all the time. If we are not, then attackers will get into our data at some point in time. So it's quite a nice way of highlighting that. So what do companies need to know? Companies need to know what their staff are doing, what their staff are likely to do. So are users likely to click on a link that goes to a Microsoft 365 sign-in page and then enter their credentials because they haven't necessarily considered the details? Are they likely to? Are they looking for phishing emails? Are they thinking about that when they're opening every email? But also they need to understand how to improve user behavior. One of the key things that improves the security culture that companies have is to train staff and make sure that they are thinking about security at all times. It's a fundamental requirement, and it's something that all companies need to be considering. And then you also, one of the key things as well is how do you keep track of what users are doing? How do you track improvement in those things? How do you track, things like the members of staff that are clicking on links? How do you understand whether that culture within your organization is actually improving or not? So these are things that KnowBe4 will be able to help with. So why security awareness training? Security awareness training is something that all organizations need, because if you're not training your staff and you're not helping them understand the risks that they face as individuals, you're not really helping them and you're not helping your own business. At the end of the day, as business owners, it is your responsibility to protect the data that you have on your customers. So by training staff, you help them become your human firewall. Also, something that's been said is that people are every organization's weakest link if they're not trained. So by giving people the training that they need, you help turn them into your strongest link and you help build that human firewall. So just going on to the way that KnowBe4 is delivered to organizations, KnowBe4 puts the user at the center of the process, because how many of you have done training solutions or used training online in the past? It can be boring. It can be very, very, very formal, very Americanized. KnowBe4 is different in the sense that KnowBe4 understands that to get the best results out of a solution like this, you need to consider the user and whether they actually want to do the training, whether they find the training engaging or entertaining or informative. So with the KnowBe4 solution, one of the key things we do is we make sure that the training is bite-sized and quick and easy to get through. So on average, it will take 5 minutes for a user to complete a training module, and we also recommend that that's done every 3 weeks. Each training module is, like I say, 5 minutes long, but it's not a typical sort of Americanized bit of content. It's a bit of content that's actually produced as near to where we are, as in Leicester. So there's a company that KnowBe4 owns, which is called Twist and Shout. They're based in Leicester. They're very effective at creating very good short and sweet training campaigns that are series based. So each series has got a lot of episodes, and the users will watch each of those episodes to learn something. They're not expecting the user to remember 10, 15, or 20 things. They're expecting them to remember just a handful of things. But they also get that message across in a very entertaining, very informative way, because it's scenario-based training. It's not somebody telling you, don't do this, don't do that. It's an episode of a TV show, and the user just happens to learn something new from that episode. The reason why we say that it should be done every 3 weeks is because we want to keep users to keep security at the top of their minds. There's a graph that you can research on any reputable browser after this if you really want to, called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. And it basically says that people forget about 50% of everything that they trained on within an hour. If you're in education, you'll know that the reason why you get kids to do things over and over is because repetition leads to improvement. It means that people retain more information. So that's why we do the training every 3 weeks. We want to get users to think about security at all times. And the only way you do that is by doing the regular training. Going on to the phish testing side of KnowBe4 is able to test users in a very effective way. As I said earlier, if you can understand what mistakes people are likely to make, it means that you can help them avoid those mistakes in future. So KnowBe4's got 24,000 phish test email templates, spoofing everything from Microsoft to Sage to various other systems. So you can test what your users are likely to do when they get one of those emails. If they click on an email, that means they've failed the test. If they click on an email and go to a Microsoft 365 sign-in page and enter their credentials, they failed the test, but they've also gone a step further and they've given attackers their credentials. Sean mentioned earlier about how attackers get credentials. That's one of the two ways that they get it. The other way is if they actually hack into an organization and steal the credentials. With the phishing tests, they are relevant to what companies do. They are also randomized, and the random part is the most important, because if you've got 50 users in your organization, if you are testing them on the same thing at the same time, somebody's going to tell the rest of the users that this is a phishing test. So what you want to do is you want to randomize the testing so that everybody gets a different email at a different point in time. And the benefit you get from that is you can tell them that they're going to be tested once a week, which is what we recommend, and I'll cover why we do that. But the idea is if you test them once a week and they can't predict when that email is coming or what the content will actually be, all you're really doing is you're keeping them on their toes. They're always thinking about what is in the email and thinking this may be the phishing test this week. The other benefit you get is because of that, they will be more likely to spot phishing attacks as well. So you're serving multiple purposes there. But also, if every test is randomized, if somebody does try and warn other members of staff that this email is a test that they just received, all they're really doing is raising the awareness level within that workplace. So it's helping to improve that awareness level in itself. We do the testing every week. The reason why we do that is because if you think about it logically, if you test people once a month or once a quarter, you're going to have 4 or 12 points of data. But if you're testing people every week and you're testing them on a variety of different platforms, different brands, different things, you will get a far greater understanding of what types of mistakes people are likely to make. So you get insights into user behavior, like maybe the fact that they're using their business email account for a Twitter account. And other things like that. So you get a lot more information by doing those tests on a regular basis. But most of all, you keep users on their toes. You keep them thinking about security. Also with the KnowBe4 platform, it's very user-friendly. One of the key things that I've said before is that we keep the user at the center of the process. When somebody fails a test, we don't take them to a page that says you failed. That would be negative. It would have a negative impact on that user. Instead, what we do is we take them to a page that says, You clicked on a simulated phishing test. Here's some rules to stay safe online. Here's some advice on the types of red flags you should be looking for in different emails. And by doing that, you turn that failure into a training moment, and that's how you improve the security culture in the organization. Also, when they go into the platform to do their training, they don't see words like your training is overdue or you are high risk. Instead, it's displayed in a graphic format that allows them to understand how they're performing in a way that's not offensive to them. And most of all, it's got to be easily accessible. So one of the key things with KnowBe4 is there's different ways of accessing the system. So Sean's mentioned passwordless links. He's mentioned single sign-on. You can use those options with KnowBe4, but you can also use the KnowBe4 Learner app. I personally like the Learner app because it means I can do the training at a time and place that works for me. I don't have to go onto my device and make sure that I've got my headphones on or anything like that. I can just watch it while I'm having a cup of coffee, and I can do my 5-minute training video. So it's easily accessible. You won't have users saying, oh, I couldn't get in to do the training because I couldn't access it, or my password stopped working, or I was waiting for a password reset. You won't have any of those barriers. So going on to what you actually get from the system, when you're testing people with phishing tests and you're also training them, you will get a very good understanding through the reporting what users are actually doing. And you'll understand where your organizational risk lies in terms of who's clicking on phish test links and who's not doing the training. The reason why those are the two key things is because that's where organizational risk lies. You want to know if people are clicking on links because that means that they are likely to make those mistakes in real life scenarios. You also want to know when people are not doing the training, because if they're not training, they are also more likely to click on things further down the line because they aren't being educated on things. So that's what we'll deliver through the service is we'll deliver reports that show where your organizational risk lies on a monthly basis so that you can see where what's actually likely to happen within your organization. Just going on to a couple of examples. These are some high-level examples. As you can see, there's over 24,000 email templates spoofing everything from Microsoft 365 to RBS to LinkedIn to various other things. These are customizable as well, so you can build your own templates. If you've got a system that KnowBe4 doesn't already have a template for, we can duplicate that and we can create a very realistic, very believable phishing test for your staff. There's also about 2,000 training items, so some of the competitors have got far less. But as I said earlier, one of the key differentiators with KnowBe4 is their content is produced here in the UK. It's lighthearted, it's informal. I'm not going to say it's Oscar-worthy acting, but one of the actors is in the latest Batman movie. Another actor is in the latest series of Ted Lasso. So they are professional actors. It comes across in a very realistic, very believable way. And the best thing is it actually gets users engagement, because we've had scenarios where companies have come to us and said, we've got our staff asking if you can release the whole of the Inside Man series to us, because they've got staff that actually want to binge watch their way through it. Which, when you consider cybersecurity training, to me, it's pretty incredible, because normally people don't want to do the training, but users are actually asking to get access. So you've got that, and then you've got a variety of different reports. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail there, but there's reports that will cover pretty much everything that you want to know about your business and where your risk lies. So there's reports that will be delivered to you on a regular basis. But also, if you have any key requirements, if you need to show your cyber insurance company that you've got security awareness training in place by showing a user timeline in the event of a breach, you can get that data through the KnowBe4 system. So there's a breadth of different reports across different things. So that's everything from me. Any quick questions, or I can move on? Yeah.
You do have a lot of free materials, especially for Cyber Awareness Month.
Yeah.
I'm using some of it myself. So
okay, good.
For an upcoming campaign.
Yeah.
So it's worthwhile having a look at it because it's free for this month.
Yeah. They do that every year, so it's great content that they put out, and it's as you say, it's free, so it's good to use that. Anybody else? Okay.